Superintendents don't get that on a report card, do they?
No.
Principals don't get that on a report card, do they? They'll say things like the public school is broken. It's broken-hearted, but it's not broken. It's broken-hearted because we can't accommodate all the needs with the resources that we receive on a daily basis that we face when we walk into these buildings.
Welcome to Innovating Education. I'm Dr. Riley Williams, and in each episode, we explore bold ideas and breakthrough strategies shaping the future of teaching and learning. Today's guest, Dr. Jason Williamson, is a leadership expert, author, and speaker dedicated to cultivating cultures of excellence through his innovative Second Mile initiative. Blending insights from education, military service, and organizational consulting, Dr. Williamson equips leaders to create cultures where excellence is not just expected, but chosen. We are honored to have him with us today. Dr. Williamson, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ms. Williams. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a great experience. I know you're easy to talk to.
Well, so could you start by introducing yourself and sharing a bit about your journey from your early days in a town of 81 people to becoming a leadership consultant and author?
Yes, ma'am. 81 people, Ozan, Arkansas, down by a place called Hope, Arkansas, Southwest Arkansas. Small town, small numbers of people, big on value, big on responsibility, big on leadership, big on working together. Took those skills to the University of Arkansas, big place, but the same concept. Learned and applied all of those leadership traits that I learned in Ozan, Arkansas, took them to the big stage. Graduated from the University of Arkansas and got into working in college athletics. Did that for 7 years. Ohio University, Clemson University, University of Arkansas. Married my wife, Shelly Williamson, of 23 years. Had a son, Cassius Williamson, and I have another one, Caius Williamson. But it's when we had Cassius that Shelly said, hey, you're going to have to come home. Enough of this being on the road. It takes 2 to raise a child. I did that, and that's how I got into public school education. Got to public school education, thought I knew everything. Here I am with the suit, the tie, first day of school. I know I'm the man. I know more than them. They just little kids. And at 8 o'clock, the bell rang. And at 8:03, I understood that I was the least intelligent person in the room. They wore me out. But it was a great lesson because I was able to then start to understand what it meant to be collaborative with my co-teachers, my department head. So I didn't know it at the time, but the Lord was getting me ready to understand how to do and run school buildings. Did that. And that's where I really started to understand about instruction and about being in the classroom and about doing things that make kids and families be positive. So that's really how I started to build and create this foundation for the Second Mile mentality.
So the Second Mile mentality is central to your work. Can you explain its origins and how it translates into actionable strategies for organizations?
Absolutely. When I was principal, I had a directive from my superintendent that we were going to put a program in place. That particular program required that we did that building-wide, but district-wide also. And it didn't feel like it was appropriate for high school. My students didn't really buy into it. My staff didn't really buy into it. So it became incumbent upon me as the leader to figure out a way to follow the directive, not put my superintendent out on Front Street, and get the staff to be doing something that was in lockstep with the rest of the district, all while balancing being uncomfortable with what the particular program was. And then that's where I found it. I found a Chick-fil-A video where it talked about the Second Mile. Matthew 5:41. If a person forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. What a wonderful concept for being an educator. I immediately brought that back. It talked about the 4 core, making eye contact. Teachers can make eye contact every time they're at the front of that room. We want them making eye contact. We want them being in there with those students. Share a smile. Teachers need to share a smile with their students. People need to share smiles with their customers. The people at the front office needed to share smiles with those parents coming in. Look how great this is working with a school district. Speak enthusiastically. No one wants to be talking to someone that's boring. No one wants to learn from someone that's boring. You can't connect to that. And then stay connected. When people feel that they are connected to you, then you can build trust and in capacity in them and in y'all to go and do great things. So a quote once said, people may forget what you said to them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So that's how we took the second mile at that high school and incorporated it into what we had going on. And we had hashtags, 2M, everything we did, second mile. And that's where I really began to build the whole second mile mentality.
I love that. That's so exciting. So, your PACE leadership framework, this has been influential. How do these pillars interconnect to drive organizational excellence?
We are a organization, industry in education where we love acronyms. We're an acronym group. I needed an acronym that I could use to push the pillars of the second mile where people would be able to take it and commit it to memory and commit it to action and make action. And that's where I came up with the PACE. The P stands for purpose. Well, what is the purpose? This is where we come in together collectively and figure out what our collective commitments are. That becomes our purpose. For us at Northside High School, shout out Grizzlies, that was put students first, focus on their learning, support each other, commit to growth, and follow instructions. That's our purpose. Now that we know the purpose, then we can hold each other accountable to those 5 cores. So when we're having a conversation with a student about something that they did or did not do, we can ask that student, hey, is what you did in line with what our collective commitments are? Is that focusing on your learning? When we're talking to a teacher after having gone into a classroom observation, hey, was that lesson plan really focusing on their learning? When we're talking to a staff about standards-based grading, which can be a little bit of a issue going from a traditional concept to a standard-based concept, then we can say, hey, are we committing to growth with this? Are we committed to growth? Are we staying traditional, locked into what we've always done? And finally, when we want to get the community involved with something that we're doing in a school district, we can simply ask, hey, are we following directions on this? Are we making sure that our kids are following directions? Are we making sure that our industries and our partners in there are following directions? And now when we're doing all those things, this becomes the second mile, the purpose, the accountability, the communication, and the engagement. And that's how we work that.
You know, I really love what you said about growth and also with standards based grading, because that's what standards based grading is. It's grading for growth.
Absolutely. And one thing I didn't mention with that is when we got to Northside High School, unfortunately, we have these letter grades. And these letter grades to the public say everything that they want to hear about the school, but does not paint the picture of the school, does not tell the whole story. Unfortunately, those letter grades in the past have been based mostly on a summative assessment that you take at the end of the year. Now, and I have to give kudos to our governor, Sanders. That's not a political, that's just being honest. She at least came in and came out with LEARNS, our LEARNS Act. I'm not saying whether I agree with LEARNS or not, but what I am saying is now we have things in place that measure growth for our students on our letter grade. And because of that, more schools have done better on the summative assessment and their grade that they get from the state. And I think that has to be tied to understanding that growth is the measuring rubric that we really need to be looking at in some of these schools.
So, in your experience, how can educational leaders implement the second mile mentality to foster proactive ownership and continuous improvement among both staff and students?
Leadership starts with self. There needs to be a self-reflection on what it is that your morals, your integrity, the way that you do things, your standard operation procedures, all of those things. You have to do a self-reflection and connect to the fact that we're servant leaders. That's what the second mile is all about, being a servant leader. So I always tell people it's mindset first. Can I go from understanding that the job description is the first mile? The things that we're described, that we're asked to do, that we're supposed to do, all of those things are in the first mile. But those aren't the things that push us to excellence. So mindset is us embracing that we got to go beyond the expectation to reach excellence. And then the second thing comes the actions. Once we have the mindset, now we have the actions. What are those actions? It's putting those crisis level plans in place that you write and talk about. It's having a leadership team in place. It's having a concept about what we're going to do in a project-based learning system. It's knowing what our collaborative concepts are. It's understanding what our teaming is. All of those actions that we have as a leader that we have already set from our mindset to our actions, and then that's where the impact comes in. We start to see growth in scores. We start to see growth in workforce development. We start to see growth in people that are being educated. They leave our buildings educated, or they're enlisted, or they're enrolled. And that's what we're looking for. And that's how you get to the second mile as a leader. Mindset, actions, impact.
Now, you have emphasized the importance of collective commitments in shaping school culture. How can leaders effectively build and sustain these commitments within their teams?
We first got to build those in silos. The reason I say that is there's so much work to be done with collaboration for a student to be successful. Before we are concerned with making sure the math team is talking to the English team, is talking to the social studies team, is talking to the science team, and so forth and so on, we got to get into those silos and make sure the English department is talking to the English department and they're speaking the same language. And how do we do that? We set the standard as the leader about being in those weekly PLC meetings, teaming meetings. And inside those meetings, we're listening to, not being the person that's doing the talking, but we're listening to, we're not the person that's facilitating, but we're listening to what's going on inside the meeting from the experts, which are the teachers. We're hearing what they are going to do from a standard standpoint. We're listening to the strategy they're going to use. We're listening for the formative assessment pieces that they're going to use. We're listening to the data that they collected. We're listening to how they took that data and made that an informed decision on how they were going to reteach or extend their lesson. See, if we're doing that inside the English department consistently, and I can go into a ninth grade classroom any day of the week, English, any teacher, and I know the standard they're teaching and they're all teaching the same standard, that's what we're talking about with equity in education. And that's how we begin to build the collective. I build that in the English department. I build that in the math department. I build that in the science department. I build that in the social studies department. I build that in the CTE department. I build the capacity in the silos for them to be collectively working together to provide the best educational experience possible for our students, putting our students first. Once that happens, the rest becomes easy because we're accustomed to sharing. So we're accustomed to working together. It's the expectation. It's the standard.
I love what you just said about, as the principal or as the leader, you are listening. You're not directing.
Mm-hmm.
That is a powerful thing as a leader. And it's something that I think that we really struggle with sometimes because, we want to project our information, our knowledge, our experience onto others, when the reality is we might need to just take a step back and let them grow as educators and as leaders within their groups.
What we have to do is make sure that we're in those classrooms. See, our time to speak about what's going on in the classrooms is when I speak to you one-on-one in your office or in my office. And I'm asking and I'm probing, I'm asking open-ended questions. I'm not painting you into a corner. I'm not making sure that you give me the right, perfect answer. I'm giving you an opportunity for me to understand who you are as a teacher and what you're trying to accomplish. And I'm trying to be someone that is supportive of that. I'm trying to make sure you have everything that you need from a resource standpoint to be able to do that. And when that happens, you've already given your input. So when we get to the meeting, I don't have to talk in the meeting because I've done the work and I've spent the time with those people making those connections that my input is already in the meeting. I just need to sit here and know that they know that it's important to me what they're doing and I'm supporting what they have, but also it's an expectation that I'm gonna monitor.
And we were talking offline about this. You prioritize those meetings with your teachers, right?
Yes, ma'am. It is a priority. I put together, along with my administrative assistant, you got to have one of those. You got to have a great administrative assistant, and I had the best. Shout out Nancy. You put those together, your week together on a schedule, and school happens. It's going to happen every day. 1,000 fires are going to happen, but you have to prioritize the instructional leadership. So if it's a classroom observation, I'm not leaving a classroom observation to go talk to a parent or to go talk to someone that's upset or go talk about anything. I'm doing the classroom observation. If it's a team meeting, I get on the radio and I say, hey, thank you, Miss Nancy, but I can't. I'm in a team meeting. If you could do with those things that we talked about earlier, if you can make some eye contact and share a smile and say, hey, listen, Dr. Williamson is in the team meeting working on instruction. He would love to have an opportunity to speak with you. If you just put it on his calendar, he'll be more than happy to speak with you. He'll give you a call at this time. Any of those things. Once you do that and that becomes a culture, Miss Nancy, I never had to have that conversation with Miss Nancy again because Miss Nancy was having that conversation for me. I come back, hey, oh, by the way, Doc, I put this on your calendar along with a note. This is what they want to talk to you about. Here's the time you need to call. Well, think about that school-wide. If everybody is doing what Miss Nancy just did, the parent feels served. You have done what you are supposed to do from an instructional leadership standpoint. And the most important thing is the kids are going to benefit from that.
That is amazing advice because you are setting a boundary, you're setting an expectation, and you are living by the principles that you set in the second mile mentality. You are going above and beyond. So I want to talk a little bit about your leadership. Drawing from your military and educational leadership backgrounds, what lessons have you learned about leading through change and uncertainty?
COVID-19 is the best example. COVID-19 hit the world and took education by surprise. However, in that, what we learned is we're able to do abundantly more than we could ever dream of to provide the services that we need. That's my leadership style. If I'm going to be proactive, that means I'm going to be taking initiative. I'm going to be trying to be out there and anticipate those things that could come down the pike, that could negatively affect my school building or my business, because this is not just about education. If I'm going to be providing exceptional service, then I'm going to be in an advocate mindset. I need to be advocating for what's best for my people. If I'm going to be continuously improving, I'm going to grind. The grind is where it's at. It's about being resilient. The grind is about being resilient. It's about being persistent. It's about persevering through whatever you're going through. And that's what that continuous improvement is all about. So I'm going to grind big. And then finally, if I'm thinking about engagement, I have to think about networking and collaborating. As a leader, I have to be able to look into my network and find an answer. Teacher brings you a question, or a person that's working in your industry brings you a question. You don't have to have all the answers, but your network has to have the answers. And those are the four things and those pillars, when I boil them down to that leadership style, that will allow you to adjust to a COVID-19, that will allow you to adjust to a tornado or whatever a crisis may be, that will allow you to adjust to a staff lockdown or any of those things. Those four things is what my leadership looks like. And that's how leaders, servant leaders with the second mile, can put those into their toolbox and be successful.
Man, you said something that really stood out to me, and that is grinding. So I played tennis, and for me, grinding just meant never giving up, right? I can see the coach in you. I know that we're talking about servant leadership, but
Right.
wow. I mean, that's such a great metaphor.
Yes, ma'am. I always say that coaches make really strong building leaders because we've been doing that work our entire career. We've had to plan. We've had to be accountable. We had to have ownership. We had to understand what we could control. We had to be able to explore. We had to bring value. That's that whole proactive thing right there I just gave you. But that's what coaches do. And I really believe coaches make really strong building leaders.
So this leads me to another question. How can leaders balance the pursuit of excellence with a need for empathy and understanding within their organizations?
I'll give you an example. Whether this be a school organization, a team, a career path, there's going to be a set of expectations that are designed or that are out there for your people. Remember this, and Mike Tomlin said this best: the standard is the standard. For example, in my profession, if the expectation is that the teachers are out in the hallways during the passing period, greeting students as they walk through, when the bell rings, you as a leader are responsible for being out in the hallways, monitoring hallways, but making sure teachers are out in the hallways. You notice that one of the teachers are not in the hallway. You have an obligation to go speak with that teacher immediately. In that conversation comes the excellence and the empathy, the accountability and the affirmation. You say, "Hey, Miss Williams, I noticed that you weren't in the hall. Is there something that I can help you with? Is there something that I could provide for you? Are you okay?" That does two things. That says to her, "Miss Williams, that I see, that I'm monitoring, that this is the standard and this is the expectation. But I also want to make sure that you understand that I am in support of you." Now, going forward, right, you leave that with, "Hey, there's something I can do to help you. Let me know." You giving her an ability to communicate with you if she can't be in the hallway. You've
And
opened the
that
door
is
for her.
your actionable change, right?
There it
That's
is.
the actionable change.
Mhm. There it is. So that's the best way that I know how to do that.
Can you tell me a story about the implementation of the second mile mentality and how it affected school district in which you implemented that?
Absolutely. When I got to Northside High School, we had some struggles. One of the struggles that we were having was making sure that we had enough teachers daily in classrooms. And we attacked that by going above and beyond. We really put some things in place, some mechanisms in place to check on teachers when they weren't in school. For example, teacher misses, we tried to have a contact with that teacher, meaning sent an email, somebody sent a text message, somebody dropped by a classroom just to say, "Hey, I saw you wasn't here today, or I saw you wasn't here yesterday. I hope everything's okay with you. Can we let us know if we can help?" What is that? That's being proactive.
That's
That's,
going the second mile.
that's providing exceptional service. That's making sure that they understand that we continuously want to improve on that. So if we didn't get that done every time, we were working toward that, and then we're engaging with that teacher, and that's going the second mile. And I can tell you that the number of times that teachers missed significantly dropped because maybe they were in a culture that no one made them feel like it was important that they were there. We don't know. We don't know what all those things were, but is something that we were able to do to get better as a team. And that's not just Jason Williamson, right? That was a team, but it worked well.
So, what advice do you have for our leaders as they implement the second mile mentality?
Stay focused, stay diligent, and understand that the second mile is only about you being willing to be a servant leader. When you are a servant leader, you're looking for solutions, not problems. You're looking for support, not obstacles. You're looking to be a support mechanism, not an obstacle, is what I mean. So if you're a leader out there and you want to work in the second mile, you stay with the concept. The first mile is what the job description is. And the second mile are all those things that we do that help our people reach excellence. In a school setting, that's the wraparound services. In a school setting, that's a student doesn't have something and we've reached out to somebody to make sure they get that, whether that's a food, whether that's shelter, whether that's support. In these school systems, the things that we don't get measured for in those group letter grades that we talked about before, all those wraparound services. Why is it important that we come to school on a cold day? Why is that superintendent making that decision that's getting hammered on Facebook, that's getting hammered on social media? They should not be in school today. What that superintendent understands is it's 26,000 students that may not eat today if we don't come. We're going to feed 15,000 students twice that wasn't going to get a meal. Superintendents don't get that on a report card, do they?
No.
Principals don't get that on a report card, do they? They'll say things like the public school is broken. It's brokenhearted, but it's not broken. It's brokenhearted because we can't accommodate all the needs with the resources that we receive on a daily basis that we face when we walk into these buildings. The true mission field work is public school education. I don't have a negative thing in the world to say about private school education. I don't have a negative thing in the world to say about charter school education. Not one negative thing, but I do have all positive things to say. And a salute to you public school educators, because I know it's God's work, what you're doing.
So, what is one key takeaway that you hope our educators walk away with from today's conversation?
I want us to understand that we can be successful, that we can rise above all the negativity that we experience, that what we do has impact long after we leave. We are leaving legacies. We are changing lives. We are putting confidence in the students every day. And understand this, I'm a first generation college student. When I went to the University of Arkansas, I thought that was the end of the world. I thought I had achieved everything in the world that I needed to achieve. My next generation, my kids, they don't even consider the University of Arkansas an option. I just had one that graduated from the University of Michigan. Think about that. Top 5 university in the world. And this is my second one, who's probably smarter than the first one, wants to go to New York University. So New York University, if you're listening, Caius Parker Williamson, next fall. But anyway, but you see how that can change? Teachers invested in me, parents invested in me, gave me an opportunity. And then now in the next generation, my children are going farther. Look how much that changed just from my one example. And that's what we're doing in these public school classrooms and buildings every day, whether it be by workforce, which is where they go and get a job, whether it be by college, which where they go and get enrolled, or whether it be in the military, where they're enlisted. So employed, enrolled, enlisted, every day is what we're doing for people. We're changing lives in public school. And that's what I want them to get from this. And that's what the second mile is all about, going above and beyond the expectation to help all these people reach excellence.
Dr. Williamson, I am fired up. I am firing it up. So for our listeners who want to learn more about your work, whether it's your keynotes, your workshops, or the Second Mile Initiative, where's the best place for them to connect with you?
I am at IamJasonWilliamson.com. That is my website, but on everything that's social media, that's my handle. I am Jason Williamson, except for LinkedIn, and that's Jason Williamson, EDD.
Well, Dr. Williamson, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your experiences with us today. Your dedication to fostering cultures of excellence and your actionable frameworks, like we talked about, provide these valuable guidelines for educators and leaders to strive to make a difference. So, for our listeners, I want to recommend that you check out Dr. Williamson's book, The Second Mile Encouragement. This is a 90-day framework companion, and it's designed to spiritually equip you for the challenges and opportunities of everyday life, both in and out of the workplace. In Second Mile Encouragement, you're going to find daily scripture based reflections to center your mind and heart, powerful insights that connect biblical wisdom to modern day challenges, thoughtful prompts to deepen your faith and to strengthen your resolve and encouragement to push beyond your comfort zone and embrace growth. You can get a free preview of the book on Dr. Williamson's website, and I've linked where you can purchase the book online. We are proud to be supported by the Solvia Learning Group, whose commitment to advancing education makes conversations like these possible. So if today's episode sparked ideas or helped reframe your thinking, please be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with a colleague. And before we go, if you're a school or district leader looking to strengthen your crisis readiness, please check out my new professional development course for administrators, A Peer-Led Journey to Building a Continuity of Operations Plan, now available through Circles at getcircles.org. It's practical, it's collaborative, and it's designed to help you plan for disruption while sustaining student success. Until next time, keep innovating, keep inspiring, and keep making a difference.